Thanks again for being here. I'll be real quick about Western Kentucky. Great resilience by the coaches and players. Walked in at halftime, and I didn't feel an ounce of panic. Felt guys that wanted to go to work and figure out what we needed to do to win the game, and they deserve every ounce of credit. They did an amazing job. To go, I think it was 31-7, second half score. They deserve a ton of accolades. So I'm proud of them for that. It was interesting. It came up again, and we had a great conversation again. And what I'm talking about is when we got the ball back with 40 seconds, they had 3 timeouts, and there's probably a number of people in the stands saying, why aren't they taking a knee? Because they mathematically could get it back. What happened differently this time as opposed to Wyoming a few weeks ago was we huddled on the sideline. We made sure and look in everybody's eye, kind of what we talked about a couple weeks ago, that there was no one not on the same page, and cover the ball. Thankfully, we got the first down and were able to ice the game. I think we had over 11 minutes possession time in the fourth quarter, which was huge. One of those being a long 96-yard drive. Amazing play calls and execution by Brian Wright and the kids. So it was good to execute some of those things at the end of the game. Things as we look back, obviously we need to get on a better start to some games. Being down 14-0 is disappointing. They hit us on a flea flicker and got our eyes in the backfield, which that stuff's going to happen. And maybe the one that we really took the hardest look at was their drive at the end of the second quarter, that we could have done things better, at least held them to a field goal. We were in what we call an Okie front, and they ran some draws and got some yardage. That's okay. There was the play that they hit. We just didn't execute well enough, the touchdown pass to the tight end. But so we'll learn from the things we didn't do well. We'll build on the things that we're proud of and move on to a really, really good football team. They're ranked, and they deserve it. This is a can't say complete, but this is a very, very well-rounded football team in that they're a powerful offense. They're top 10 in their offensive rankings. They're top 10 in a lot of the defensive rankings, most notably scoring. A road game again. We have a road challenge. We haven't been successful on the road, and that's something that we're going to take a very hard look, already have, at just our scheduling, what our team itinerary is. I've been of the trained under coaches that believe you treat it as much like a home game as possible. May do some things to make the kids uncomfortable, so they're used to being uncomfortable during the course of the week. Obvious Conference USA implications. We're 2-1 right now, so we're right in the hunt. They're undefeated. If we were able to get a victory, which is going to be a challenge, then we're really in the mix of things for the conference race. So we're excited about that. There's recruiting implications because Doc Holliday views this as one of his home areas, and for us to go get a win would mean a lot to the program and recruiting that way. Cato is a great player. They're doing a Heisman campaign for good reason. He can run, he can throw, he's a dynamic player. He's smart when he's out in the open in terms of sliding or making you miss so you can't fall asleep and continuing to run. Some other players that really impressed me, their running back, number 47, Devon Johnson. He's 240-plus pounds, and he runs like he's 240-plus pounds. And I mean that as a compliment. He's powerful. He can run well enough to pull away from some guys at the second level. He's a good player. Tommy Schuler is one of their most dynamic receivers. I'm impressed by him. And their Mike linebacker, who's leading tackler for them, I believe, is an active player, and they do a nice job. They've got a really good punter that helps them in field position, that helps their team success, and they had a punt block for a touchdown against Old Dominion. So you've heard me hit on some dynamic things on all 3 phases, which a team that's ranked and leading our conference, you'd expect to see those things. And really the bottom line is pretty simple. This is a very good football team. We're going to need to be at our best in all 3 phases and protect the football and do all the obvious things to have a chance to win on the road. And our kids are excited for the challenge. They're proud of what they were able to overcome on Saturday night. We need to get started a little faster this week to give ourselves a chance against Marshall. But if they get one on us quick, we're not going to panic. We're just going to keep fighting and do what we do best.
Can you compare the challenge of facing 23rd ranked Nebraska and 23rd ranked Marshall?
Different style in terms of what they do, in terms of the quarterback. They both were running quarterbacks. Their run game is a little simpler, being Marshall's. They run zone read, they run a little power, and then a couple plays complementary. The run game from Nebraska there was more. There was more plays. You also had a Heisman level running back there. Now these kids have very good running backs. I mean that with no disrespect. Abdul's one of the top one or two backs in the nation. This receiving core is very good. You had Bell at Nebraska. You have a group of fast kids at Marshall. First game versus eighth game, conference versus non-conference, both on the road. Both will be challenging settings. Our first game together, complete, with me as the head coach versus the eighth. I've learned a lot. I mean, there's a learning curve for me during games, and I feel like I'm in a better place now than I was going into that first game. So it feels like a million miles apart, but certainly understand the correlation you're working to make. Different styles of football teams.
Is there any way to pinpoint why you guys have had slow starts to games?
Well, no, it's really different every week. I'm just going to focus on this past week. Defensively, we gave up a trick play. They were able to move the ball a little bit. We've got comfortable and made some open field tackles as time went on. We adjusted and tweaked our game plan throughout the course of the game, which obviously worked for us. You go in and apply your rules out of your base defense to figure out what their game plan is, and then you can hone in on what's going to work best for you during the day. And I'll give Coach Bellantoni a ton of credit because he made some major adjustments, some major ones, and without getting into too much detail, it was successful, and you got to give him a lot of credit for that. We're aggressive too. I mean, not only we went for 6 fourth downs, we had a fake punt. We did some things that I think we need to continue to do as a football team, and to steal the president's line, we need to play to win. We need to be aggressive, and that'll pay off for us in the long run. We knew Western Kentucky's offense was extremely powerful, so we knew we were going to have to create some possessions. I talked about that Saturday night, and it paid off. So we'll just continue to work to mix up our calls early. There's times where our offense has roared down the field early in games and not finished. We'll continue to get better.
Do you consider this, I know you mentioned recruiting and
Mm-hmm.
conference implications, but for the players themselves, knowing that Marshall is considered or been approached as the head of the class in the
Mm-hmm.
conference,
Mm-hmm.
how much are you going to challenge your players to understand that this is a chance for them to sort of gain a certain level of respect that can only be sort of achieved by beating a team like that?
Sure. Well, we'll certainly talk about it. I'm not going to overdo it because some things speak for themselves. But I wasn't here for the game last year, but they had a chance to win the game, and it didn't end up working out. Last second field goal. We'll refer to some of those things and some of the ways we've won games this year and have not won games. I feel like when we protect the football and are aggressive, we're a pretty good football team. As we get our defense honed in on what the best calls are for that game, and it varies. You say, Coach, why don't you have the best calls at the start of the game? Well, they're going to adjust their game plans too, and you need to make adjustments as games go on. And in today's day and age with spread offenses, offensive records are getting destroyed all the time right now. Both at the NFL level and the college level. It's the nature of where the game has gone. So defensive coordinators have to be very adjustable. And I got to give Rock and his staff a lot of credit. They did that on Saturday, and we're going to live in the same world this coming Saturday.
So how much are you hoping to get the kids to understand that this is a chance for them to sort of get a level of recognition and notoriety because you are playing another rank?
Sure. And kind of what I believe is we're going to talk about it, but I'm not going to overdo it because to me, we have the challenge of going on the road. We have the challenge of winning another conference game. The last thing I want to do is talk about it too much and their mind starts to go to other things. We need them to focus on their job. So we're going to talk about it, make them aware of it, make them aware of the conference implications and the challenges of playing those games on the road. Conference USA certainly is excited about what Marshall has done. I think they're excited about the potential of what Florida Atlantic can bring to the conference. I've been a part of those situations. It reminds me, ironically, of when I was at Pittsburgh and the Big East had West Virginia potentially going to the national title game, and we were coming in, and there's some correlations there that I'll share with the players. They know it's a game of high magnitude, But at the same time, at the end of the day, it comes right back to it's not that hard of a game. You got to do your job, do it well, make plays more than they do.
When we spoke to Larry Coker on a conference call, he said, he made the statement that he believes Cato and Quez are the two best quarterbacks in this conference. Does Quez kind of have to play up to that level for you guys to have a chance to win?
Yeah, I think anytime you have your quarterback play at a high level, you're going to increase your chances of winning. I do. I think Quez, if he can perform the way he's shown he can for 4 quarters, I think that's going to put us in a very good position. Fortunately, we have some other guys stepping up, with Buddy Howell and Caleb Woods, and still have Dukes, and Lucky's going to be explosive, and we need to make some plays in the other 2 phases for sure. But, yeah, in big games, tends to be when you have 2 quarterbacks like this that match up against each other. The guy who performs the best has the best chance of having a win, and Quez can handle that. I grabbed him at one point, as did Brian Wright and a couple of our others, when the game was somewhat you could see where it was going. We were getting down to that 9-10 minute mark, and Quez, it's your ship. We believe in you. We know you can take us down the field. Do it. And the smile and the confidence that resonated all throughout him resonated during that drive and the rest of the game. So I'm excited about where Quez is right now, leadership-wise, performance-wise, and we're looking for a big game out of him this week.
I was trying to remember. He's the first quarterback for FAU to throw for 3,000 yards and rush for 1,000 yards.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Probably for first quarterback to rush for 100 yards.
Got to be first somewhere.
Is Cato the most complete quarterback you see minus the Nebraska and Alabama? Because he's had 39.
For this season?
Yes, because he's a very good dual threat. I think he's 39 50 for a touchdown. Very capable runner too.
Yeah. Let me process that question. I'm thinking through the schedule. Obviously, Brandon was a big challenge on Saturday, but he's not the same dual threat. A very good question, by the way. I think you could argue that's probably a fair question, and probably is on this year, a guy that is as big of a threat with his feet as he is with his arm. Aside from Sims, certainly from Alabama, but when you get into those next several games after those 2 first games, I think you could argue he's the most complete threat with his feet and his arm.
And also going off that, will you think about using a spy on him because he's a very good runner too?
The problem with spies, I think spy is something you have to mix in, but then here's the challenge you have with spies. Where he makes his biggest asset in terms of running the ball is either designed to run or scramble. So you get into spies, and I think mixing it in is good, but then your lanes get out of whack. Okay, like we got hurt on Saturday. We rushed 3 guys, so we had more underneath guys, bigger lanes. Doughty was able to break out to his left and get a first down. I think it's valuable if you mix it in and don't use it every time.
How much of last year's game do you look at? What do you draw from it?
We'll look more on the offensive side. We'll look on our offensive side because, same offensive system. So we'll mix it into the cut-ups. We have it broken down. We'll look at, our offense mixed in. So really the way you do it is you pull up, all right, how do they defend this formation? And you study it. And our game will be included in that cut-up, and you work through the formations. So it'll be involved. Defensively, not as much. We'll look more at what they're doing this year.
It's probably similar, though, isn't it?
It is similar. But there's enough variance in what we're doing defensively right now where I don't think it'd be as valuable as just.
Well, but what they're doing hasn't really changed.
It has not, no. But when you're looking at, film and you choose what games, as now as you're getting teams with 7-8 games under their belt, you really don't use all 7-8 games. It starts to water down. Those 1 or 2 play hits hurt your focus. So you tend to choose 4 or 5 games. Our offense will include last year's game because it fits. We will not include last year's game against FAU defense because it doesn't fit as well. We'll use the appropriate games from this year.
Buddy Howell's the latest freshman to
Mhm.
contribute. You've gotten other freshmen. How happy are you that you've been able to kind of, as the season's gone on, Joe Gold is another good example. You've been able to start working your first class into your game.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited that we've won a few ball games with them in there too. It helps me with that middle group. I mean, seniors, it's important to them because they're seniors, and you'd expect that. It's the sophomores and juniors that are caught in between, buying in or not, and most of them are buying in. But the freshmen, they come in and they're ours. They're going to follow suit most of the time. And there's immaturity things, of course, like freshmen will have. But it carries a lot of weight with that group of sophomores and juniors that, hey, if I just follow the plan, then I'm going to have a chance to have success. It helps a lot, and this experience is going to be huge. I think, two freshmen starting a lineman reminds me of what happened at Arkansas a year ago, where we had two freshmen starting, and they've obviously gotten a lot better. Record doesn't prove it, but they're a much better football team, and I think that'll pay off for us as we move forward.
You mentioned being aggressive and sort of changing the mindset going forward on 4th down 6 times. How much do you want to take from that and use it for the rest of the season? As far as I know you don't want to be too aggressive.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
how much can you take from that?
Of the 6, I look back at it, and of the 6 where I made those decisions and we made those decisions, there's one of them that probably pushed the envelope a little bit. But the other 5, I really had confidence in it. I mean, there was things, even though the scoreboard didn't reflect it, we were doing some things, and we had over 300 yards in the first half, right? So that helps breed your confidence in terms of what you have a chance to do. That all factors in. Can we converge? How's our offense performing? How much do we need to get an extra possession? You could argue that a 4th down conversion is the same as a turnover. You could argue that. We were performing at a high level, so I was more willing to say, you got on 3rd down, hey, Brian, you got 2. So make your choice with 2 downs in mind. I think a lot of that will just depend on how well we're moving the ball each game.
So there's no truth to the rumor that I started that you're going to take Sean and just make him quarterback.
That's fair. We're not going to, but we're considering him a fullback on 3rd down.
How much did he practice that play, the fake bump pass?
Well, we've had versions of it in. We made this one specific to them, but we've had versions of him throwing the ball really throughout the course of the year. So you're looking at least 4 to 6 reps a week of some version of him going either way. Now it's been to different guys depending on the week as we go into it. We'll always have something, and that one we felt really good about. I had some pretty solid confidence that we were going to be able to have success. Part of it was who we threw it to also. One of our most trustworthy guys with Jensen.
Did you look at Cato when he was in high school?
You know what? When he was coming out, I wasn't as heavy into Dade, so not enough to say what I thought of him then. Yeah, be unfair.
Was that his best tackling game?
You could argue that. Here's what I think it was. As I process your question, it was our best pursuit game. If there was a missed tackle, there was quickly 2, 3, 4. I mean, when we were going through the film with the kids yesterday, and I usually pull out about 10 or 15 clips from each side to show the whole team, the amount of plays where if the first guy didn't make the tackle, then there was multiple guys. I think of one, it wasn't multiple, but Cravon missed a tackle on our sideline, and the guy starts to scurry up, and God bless him, Grant Helm ran all of his, when the kids laughed, I said this yesterday, every bit of 4.840 that he has, he was running every bit of it. I mean, he was a 4.8 guy playing 4.6, and he hustled, and he made the tackle, but if he didn't, he would have stopped his feet, and there was 2 other guys coming from behind that could have made the tackle. It was our best pursuit game, which makes the missed tackles look less severe.
How did you grade Neesman?
He did some really good things. He had one tough series there towards it was right around the second quarter, where he hopped inside a block, and that led to some gained yardage on a screen. And there was the wheel out of the backfield when they were in 3rd and 21 that we wished he were on the upfield shoulder instead of playing underneath it and shuffling out. Other than that, he played pretty well. Tackled well, got to where we needed him to get, covered up some routes that they didn't throw to that they had been hitting, had a PBU or 2. He played well other than a couple plays. So we need to work to eliminate those couple plays that lead to big gains.
He seems like he's going to be pretty important with these offenses that you're facing down the
Yeah, the nickel position's critical. You know, when you got a guy out in space, you need your best athlete that can do both, and that's a challenge. There's times where he's going to fit into the gap between the guard and the tackle, and then there's times where he's out in space, and that's a challenge. But you're exactly right. That is a critical spot for us with bubble, zone read, keep. That guy's got to be really patient, really smart, and make open field tackles or fit in the right spot.
I'm assuming you've been seeing that from him for the most part.
Well, for the most part, we have been. He's really grown. There was a time there where, when looking at film from a year ago, he was really productive on special teams. This year, as the nickel role grew, his special teams production had decreased a little bit, and as he's maturing, he's now able to handle both, which is a good sign that he's able to handle, because we still need his production on special teams, certainly in the coverage units, and we're seeing that production increase again.
I know you mentioned during the bye week how much you wanted the ground game to improve,
Yeah.
especially ball security. I mean, I think it was statistically your best game on the ground.
Yeah.
How gratifying was that to put an emphasis on it and then watch it come through with Tony Jaquez and everybody?
Very. Coaches and players really did an amazing job for 2 weeks. You guys know this. We were full pads in the whole bye week and pretty physical leading right up until before the game. And on Thursday we backed off a little bit, but there's a lot of work put into taking kind of that next step in the run game. And to see I thought our tempo was better as well. We were up on the line. We were putting them in points of stress more than we had, I think, earlier in the season. So there's a number of things that Brian did a great job emphasizing that paid off. And to see us wear a team down a little bit physically, that's right in my wheelhouse. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. Combination of tempo and running the ball. The place I've been the last 5, 6, 7 years, it was waddle up and then just mash and wear them down that way. To kind of impose your will and have some game-defining drives at the end of games is a big deal for the future and something you build on and you can point to and say, guys, we can do this.
Do you see the rotation changing at all, or do you like
From the O-line standpoint, or?
from a running back standpoint?
Well, I mean, Buddy obviously produced very well. Tony is a guy that we trust with everything we have. We all agreed there at the very end of the game that we wanted the ball in Tony Moore's hands. Tony Moore was productive at the beginning of the game. He had a nice run to get a first down. Then we threw him a little swing pass. He gets another first down. Tony's a good back. Jay Warren had a great practice yesterday. Right, he was in our developmental practice and was taking every rep that he could and running extremely hard and protecting the football. We've got a pretty good stable of running backs right now. So some of the rotation will depend on who the hot hand is and who best suits. And Martise Jackson, there's a kid who had every right in the world to complain and go the wrong way, and here's a senior who was fighting to earn playing time. And to his credit, he's just kept his head down and his nose to the grindstone and worked. And we had some plays mixed in for him, and he was productive. So one of the challenges, we got some really dynamic players, in my opinion, with Lucky and Jay and Buddy and Martise and Jensen, and is getting the ball to those guys. And I think it makes us potentially a dangerous offense, which 619 yards would make you believe that.
Mentally, where is Jay right now? I'm not sure how many snaps he played.
None.
How is he mentally going into this week?
Well, he's motivated. I mean, he was disappointed, obviously, in not getting a chance to play on Saturday. But again, we had a guy really two guys with hot hands, and Martise had his little package. So Jay's a guy that he'll rebound, he'll come back. Got a lot of belief in him. He's still a young kid, and nothing's changed. I mean, when I did look back at our offense from last year, when I was buzzing through the game, he had a zone read from the 30-yard line, got it down to the 2. He's productive back. So to answer your question, he's very, very motivated, disappointed in things that have happened, but he'll rebound. He's young.
You mentioned the time possession. Is that something that can easily be translated to from a high potent offense like Western Kentucky to another, high potent offense like Marshall? I mean, does that have to be a key ingredient to beating them?
It is, but at the same time, I don't think we want to remove the ability to stress their defense. They're good. They're good on defense. They're very athletic. They're They're in the 270 range inside, but they're very, very quick. We need to be willing to stress them with our tempo. And the way to control the clock really is I'm learning a lot. It's the first time I've been part of a tempo offense. So as you'd expect, you have to move the chains to have great time of possession, right? Common sense there, but you can mix in how you stress them. Whether it's true speed ball, get up there, snap it, run the play, or simulated, or not. We saw some speed break huddle things, and that's kind of, we talked about this earlier in the year, if you remember, one of our better drives of the season. You talk about starting off a game right, was our first drive against Nebraska, right? And there's a lot of tempo mixture. We got back to that, put some stress on Western Kentucky. That helped us control the clock also because we were moving the chains. The thing about don't lose your question, but one of the things that we talked about very heavily on Saturday and leading into Saturday was a 3 to 4 yard run is a really good play. And don't lose sight of that, because that 3 to 4 yard play, if you just stick with it, and they're going to have their times where they stop us for one. That's all right. But that 3 to 4 yard play can turn into 4 to 6 and 7 to 8, and then you break a 30 yarder. We need to stay the course, just like the program. Just stay the course and keep pounding.
As far as the running game.
As far as the running game goes, yep.
You mentioned you're trying to do some stuff. I don't know if it's to simulate being on the road or just to kind of, what do you do? You have them sleep in different apartments? How do you do that?
There's a couple different ideas. I haven't settled on any. Whether you tweak your practice schedule, tweak your practice locations, just things that, kind of that whole spot the ball mentality where, okay, no big deal. This is a little different. Play football. So we've got some ideas that we're bouncing around right now, but I don't want to overdo it either and go to the point of, well, that's pretty corny, right? So I think just little subtle things to do a little different. And we're looking at our schedule. We've got a 45-minute bus ride from the hotel to the stadium. So, and we've had a couple of those, from here to FIU. Alabama was a little bit of a bus ride, and so was Wyoming. So we're taking a look at that bus ride. Just really trying to analyze, is there something we can do a little different to keep them a little more alert? And we got thoughts of showing a TV copy of one of their games, put on a movie that will keep them all whatever. So we're really kind of bouncing around some ideas to take a look at what's going to take us into that first kickoff prepared the best mentally and emotionally.
Where are you staying?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I think it starts with a P.
The town?
Yeah, the town starts with a P. Huntington, Parkersburg, forgive me. Don't quote me on this one. It's about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Yeah.
If you do change your location or your time of practice, you let us know.
Yes, absolutely will.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely will. Good? All right. Thanks, guys.